And hello, ladies and gentlemen, we're back after a fairly long layoff since TI7. It's been, man, a month.
About a month. I thinking about it. I've been busy working, so
I've
yeah.
been busy with Mayweather McGregor mostly. Um,
So you were busy working too. You just have a slightly less muggle job than I do, as the esports people say these days.
I've not heard that term yet, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It is less Muggle, but still fairly Muggle.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess I'm
well,
kind of living the dream based on the fact that I actually live on my writing monies.
yep.
Um, but we're here to talk about Dota 2 because shit's actually happening again. Um,
Yeah.
the roster, we were planning on doing a roster shakeup one between TI7 and now, but
But
it
it
was so
didn't really
spread.
happen.
Yeah,
Like, well, one it was spread out, and two, it was
there weren't
like
too many folks that just like completely exploded.
yeah, like a lot of teams were we're staying the same or like minor tweaks, and a lot of it made sense.
Yeah. Also, if I sound like shit, it's because allergy season and the neighboring province is on fire, basically. So my sinuses are completely destroyed. That's why I got a drink, and I'm going to be muting myself periodically to blow my nose and cough and sneeze and etc. So, yeah, uh, a lot of stuff happened before TI7 with Planet Odd, Team Phaseless breaking up. A lot of stuff happened kind of during with Resolution obviously helping Team Empire along in a big way. There was some stuff that happened immediately after, but for the most part, it was spread out across the entire month. And even now, we're not completely done yet. There are a few pretty high level teams that have empty spots still.
Well, that both have empty spots, and there are also several ones that haven't said anything. So
Yeah.
it's like, have your players left? Are you doing anything? And a lot of that is due to the money that is being hinted at, and we'll get to that. But
Yeah. So we got a relatively big uh, episode because we're going to be talking about one the new rosters, the six roster setup, and what teams look like entering the new season, which kind of helps us to preview the upcoming tournaments, being Summit and Star Ladder. We've got some discussion on again some of the roster moves that haven't happened and why that might be from a business perspective, and then some of the other business end stuff that has happened. So, talking about what's happening, what hasn't happened, and what will happen. So,
yep.
yeah, talking about everything basically. And that'll probably bring us to a larger discussion on the entirety of esports as a whole, I would say, which is basically the Overwatch League is kind of redefining how it works on the business end. So we're going to get started. I am currently writing for a website called invainglobal.com. They have me as their Dota 2 and occasional fighting game guy. And I did up an article, and therein are a bunch of handy charts involving pretty much every major team in every region. So I'm going to put on full screen or share screen right now so we can just really go over it. Share screen. All right. Can you see it?
I see your Twitter.
All right. That's my Twitter. Hold on. I'm going to lock in. There we go. Nice infinity shot as per usual. All right. They did add in the photo credit. That's good. So I'm going to start with our home region being North America. So I would say that in general, North America was probably the hardest hit region during the roster shakeup. The last year's runner-ups, Digital Chaos, which turned into Thunderbirds, which turned into Planet Odd, ended up breaking up, got chopped up and distributed amongst a bunch of other teams. For the most part, they all have jobs. Not too many of them actually in America, mainly because none of them were actually American. Evil Geniuses, despite having a pretty not great TI7, for the most part stayed the same. Their only major roster move being replacing Zai with Fear. Fear coming out of retirement, quote unquote, or his year-long hiatus.
I mean, I'd call it out of retirement, especially because he's not even coming back to his old position. You know, that's the big thing.
He kind of plays every position though.
Well, I mean, he does, but like his most, it's not. He went from a carry position, which he had done in his 2 most recent iterations. Yeah. Yes, he had been a support before that, sort of, but yeah. Yes, Fear plays everything, but Fear is most well known, arguably, for his carry and offlane.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Either way, going to be a very different Fear, probably, but not a very different EG on the whole in comparison to some of the other teams. Cloud9, same thing as Planet Odd, formerly Team NP. They got chopped up, distributed amongst, thrown to the wind, and they're in mostly other regions. The former Team Freedom, which almost actually won their way through the North American qualifiers, went through a little bit of restructuring and have signed up with Vici Gaming. Vici Gaming kind of went through its own little restructuring where it kind of split off Vici Gaming with Vici Gaming J as its own kind of organization. And there are 2 Vici Gaming J teams, being Storm and Thunder, with Storm being the American team and Thunder being the Chinese team, the traditional Vici Gaming J team. And that you can see is what the new Vici Gaming J looks like. So Complexity re-added Chessie and Limp. They both played for Complexity last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that basically allows Moo to go back to his, ideal offlane spot, and Z freaking Melons fall back into support roles. PPD, interestingly, no longer the CEO of Evil Geniuses. He jumped ship entirely, I believe, right?
Yeah, he is playing for a stack right now.
Yeah, he's playing. The team is the Dire. As you can see on screen, it is Pycat, CCNC, Zai. So he immediately found work. Misery, former captain of Digital Chaos / Thunderbird / Planet Odd, and PPD. It's an interesting team as a whole, and yeah, it's going to be fun to see where they go. And just on the void past EG, got to imagine that they're going to be a force in a lot of the qualifiers. Digital Chaos actually is still looking to fill the gaps from losing its 2 Korean players, right?
It was yes.
Okay, yeah, they're both ex MVP Phoenix. Yeah, Forever Dubu. They left, and as you can see, have reformed MVP Phoenix, which has since become the Immortals, or not the Immortals. So
they're the Immortals now. Damn it.
But they're back together, and interestingly, despite the fact that they are a all Korean team, are playing, it seems, in North America in a permanent way. Immortals.
Yeah,
say again?
They're moving to the States. Rumor has it.
Okay, well, I mean, it's interesting because the Immortals CEO, I forget what his name is at the moment.
Noah Winston is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he discussed on Twitter that, well, he made the announcement that the eventual Immortals Dota 2 team, he wanted them to be willing to establish themselves as a North American team, which they're obviously doing. So, MVP Phoenix, back in 2016, had a very respectable run at TI7, or TI6, as well as other previous majors. It's a high upside team, and again, just on the fact that there's such a void past Evil Geniuses, I gotta imagine that they're going to win their way into a lot of major minor tournaments as the North American representative. Any other thoughts on North America?
Nope.
All right, so now we go to Europe, and Liquid stayed the same, which is a good thing because they won TI7. They probably don't need to make many changes. OG, their only change was replacing a vacationing, retiring maybe, we'll see how it goes, Anna, with Resolution. Resolution, of course, being the former carry of DC/Thunderbird/Planet Odd. He subbed in on Team Empire as their carry and goes back to playing mid for OG, which should be interesting. Team Secret lost Kezu and MP, I think. Right?
Yes.
Okay. They lost Kezu and MP, replaced them with Ace and Fada. Fada, probably an upgrade.
Old Fada, yes. Last season Fada, no.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be blunt about it. I really do think that Fada played horribly last season, and so we're gonna have to see a different Fada for him to be considered an upgrade for anybody.
Yeah, it's a high upside team, I would say, and depending on how the invites shake out for any given tournament, once again, it's kind of basically Liquid and OG on top, then Team Secret, then everybody else. So they're even with the changes, they're still positioned pretty well going into this season. So Hellraisers, formerly Planet Dog, formerly Pro Dota, add Sexy Bambo. I think that's a particularly good addition, just because we see a lot of teams that are kind of young and lacking in discipline, for lack of a better term, benefit from having that veteran player, and you don't get much more veteran than Bambo.
Yeah, surprising. It's weird to think about how old Bambo actually is.
Yeah, he's been around the block. He's not that old in real life, though, right? All right. Are you checking in? Are you looking up how old he is?
Yes.
Okay.
Being very careful about it. He's my age. The dude's 25 already. Damn.
Yeah, you're talking about old. I'm 30.
Yeah, we're sitting here like old, and it's like, damn, young kids.
These kids these days and their iPhones. Anyway, Mouse Sports, Ad Finem, remaining intact for better or worse, since things didn't go so well for him after the Boston Major.
They had some moments, though. They have potential, and I like this.
They absolutely do have potential, and
I agree that they have problems, but at the same time, this is the first roster I've seen in a long time. To be fair, nobody stays together long enough to really be able to say this normally, but
that's true.
We saw this in Smite, and I complained about this in Smite several times, where a team would stick together even though the team needed to break up. And this is one of the few times where the team doesn't need to break up, even though the team totally could have broken up, and I like it.
I agree with that. And just in general, it's got such a personality, and not many teams actually do. There are very few teams that actually have a unique personality, and the way that they blew up after the Boston Major, I hope that they can pull it together, because you need esports in general, sports in general, even outside of the top level team sports, you need personality, and God knows that Ad Finem had that at the Boston Major, and hopefully they can get the ball rolling enough that they can show that off again this year. So Synderin pulled together a new No Diggity team. We're getting
they didn't give an answer for or give a name for so long.
Yeah,
which was like, no, this is not. There were like 3 different teams that people thought they were, because they're just all players being from, like half the teams of X Alliance,
mostly Scandinavian. Synderin is Danish, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they might. Who knows? They might end up being the new North.
You jest, but he is very good friends.
Yeah, he's buddy with Milk, and he's like he has some kind of upper level position with them.
I'm pretty sure Milk runs North.
Yeah, so I could absolutely see them becoming the new North, the North Dota team. And another new team, Team Tuho. They got Demon from North America.
I'm kind of excited for Tuho. I am biased. I love Garter and I love Quakeva, but
yeah, Yeah, you got the veteran Koikva and the veteran Demon. You got Garter.
Veteran
you got Mick.
Carter.
Huh?
And veteran Carter.
Not as veteran at the top level as like Koikva.
Oh well, no, but the dude's been.
He's been around.
Yeah, so let me pull up his info because that guy, like, the things that has happened to that man, like he's straight up like he's been. Let's see, how long has he been playing? 2011. He played for Virus Gaming. 2013, he played with. He played on Flipside in 2014. My Insanity in 2014.
Yeah.
He played for Samurai Champloo. I forgot about that team.
Oh Christ. I forgot about that team too, but now I remember the hell out of it. But just on the fact that Europe is so wide open past those top three, I imagine that they're going to be. They can probably walk in and be competitive with any of the other teams. Yeah, depending on how Team Secret ends up shaking out, like you said, there's some worries there. It's not like they're guaranteed to pick up from where they left off. I could see them being competitive with pretty much anybody else on that list other than OG and Liquid. So we'll see how it goes. And if they gel well, you know, I would have said the same thing about TI's 6 Digital Chaos, and they got second place at the International and then took off in 2017 to a degree. Finally, and then collapsed. Finally, probably the most interesting team on the whole, for reasons I'll get to later, is the new Weeha Saxa stack.
That's a weird one. And I find it interesting that you're calling it a Wee Saxa stack because I totally would have called it a Weeha Kezu stack.
Really?
Personally.
I focus in on those two just because they obviously played together pretty recently for a length of time.
Yeah.
But Tomato, Cancel, Kezu, Wee, and Saxa, good team. Lots of talent there. Going to be interesting to see what happens to them from a business perspective because they're still TBA. Very easy to wonder if they might have some suitors. Again, we'll discuss that later.
We're also forgetting the importance of Tomato in this story. It's not just like, yes, Tomato.
Totally.
It's a 16-year-old kid from South America.
Yeah, totally gonna get to that. So bottle that up and hold on to it because we're gonna get to it. Because I explicitly discussed like the uniqueness of that team and that how there's a really interesting window there for them. Moving on to CIS though, so it's it's Virtus Pro than everybody else. We don't know. Team Empire obviously had a very good TI7, but Chappie's back. They lost Roger. They don't have a replacement yet. Well, that's why I said Chappie's back. They lost Rezo. They lost Roger. They don't have replacements for both of them. So we don't know really how good they're going to be. Na'Vi added Roger. Also added Crystallize, who I believe was from Vega Squadron.
Sounds right to me.
Or maybe he was from Team Spirit. Either way, interesting Na'Vi roster. No reason to necessarily think they're going to be better than they were last year, but how much worse can it get?
Don't ask that question.
And then, I mean, then there's Vegas Squadron, Team Spirit, Gambit Esports, M19.
Oh, that's right. Crystallize came from DD, from Double Dimension.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're the new teams for all those other regions. It's Virtus Pro at the top, and I really only discussed Team Empire and Na'Vi just because, prestige. Na'Vi is a prestigious organization, and Team Empire had a good enough TI7 to discuss them. But really, all of these teams have been shaken up to different degrees. No real certainty about who is going to be that number 2 team. Could be any of them. I don't know. We'll see. Who cares? Well, we all care, but yeah. Anyway, Southeast Asia, probably the most interesting region, and I would say you can make a strong case that it's the overall deepest outside of China. So you got TNC coming back intact from a decent TI7 in retrospect. It was a little bit disappointing just because you predicted a Cinderella run for them.
I had hoped, and
there was it was ambitious.
They didn't. I mean, they weren't themselves when they played, and
it was ambitious, but it wasn't crazy.
What Kipspel, their analyst, she wrote if you read her thing when she left the team, it was very obvious, because I've always said that their strongest point was not the team itself, it was their analyst. And when they weren't listening to the analysis and they weren't playing the way that they needed to play, of course they're going to fall apart.
I read that note, and she basically said that she got replaced by 1437.
Well, they both had this. They both were trying to do the same thing, and that's something that you're always going to see is like things need to shift a little bit. That's fine. And yeah, like the team, and yeah, I guess what I would say is you can't have an analyst who is playing as well. You need to have an analyst that is outside the picture looking in. You can have a captain in the game, and I get that she wanted to be an analyst / coach and not have a coach captain in game, which is what 1437 was. And I'm not saying that that's bad, and I'm not saying the team can't, relearn how to play, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they can get by totally fine with this roster, and I think that, again, all things considered, they had a decent run at TI7.
Yeah, totally.
And that was a decent run at TI7 with 3 months to gel together.
Well, to regel, but yeah.
So I could definitely, I see them doing well right off the start. I could see them doing very well if they stick together and they really start getting activity in. Something that Nahaz brought up with IG last year was that, playing a lot together helps. And might not be 100% true, but it's certainly possible, and I certainly wouldn't say that he's wrong. So seeing TNC just get more reps in, I could see them being a really good team going forward with this lineup.
Yeah.
Fnatic, very interesting, because they add Pylai Dai, Excalibur, and Eternal Envy. That's basically why Cloud9 got destroyed, because those two left. And Excalibur joins from, I don't remember where he was. I think he was a more or less free agent, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter either way. So that's 3 Western players on a Southeast Asian team. Ohio and DJ are the only 2 remaining players. They lost a few different players. One of them rejoined MVP Team Phoenix / now Immortals. And yeah, it's an interesting lineup, and I'm very curious as to whether or not Fnatic is going to stick around in Southeast Asia. I'm very curious as to whether adding Excalibur and Pylai Dai, and if, the TI7 curse kicks in and nobody really steps up as the top European team, I'm wondering if they might move this Fnatic team to Europe, because they got the ins with Pylai Dai and Excalibur, both Swedish. And hell, why not move to North America? I mean, Eternal Envy captained a fairly successful Team NP, all things considered. When you consider how far along they came throughout 2017, or 2016, 2017, they did a lot. And I could see them going right back into North America, and depending on how any of those given stacks shake out, I could see them winning against any of those teams outside of EG. And even then, EG is not a guarantee to again dominate, depending on how this meta shakes out. So we'll see.
I can't wait for the next patch. Like, as nice as the patch is, and I haven't been playing a whole lot because, again, work 10 hours a day. I don't have time to do any. I just have no internet access really for 10 hours a day out of the day now. But so as far as actually playing though, the patch isn't that awful. It's starting to get a little worse again in terms of everybody finding out what works a little bit too well. But I think that, like, I would like to see a new patch, but at the same time, I really just want to see those 2 new heroes added more than anything else.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting.
Some tweaks. Because we're not going to see those 2 heroes until maybe like the last quarter of this season in pro play, as it should be. But,
Yeah, they're going to be added probably this holiday season, then be banned from captain's mode for a length of time afterwards. And they'll probably end up in competitive play, June-ish. You figure like that's not too
assuming they're sooner, yes.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but gonna be interesting.
Yep.
Mineski. The new Mineski I think is pretty darn interesting. Mainly because they add Jabs and Ice from Team Faceless. They still have Mushi and Nana. And that's just a really talented team. Very curious to see if they can come together and if they can kind of, it's a very competitive team region because there's so many decent teams with so many talented players. It's not that kind of like fall off. And not only that, but you have teams like Execration, Clutch Gamers, WGU, who, if I recall correctly, didn't really go through that much restructuring. And they've been good enough for long enough that, they could get better as a team. Like, I think that the continuity of TNC and then the Execration, Clutch, WGU, they've all been pretty good and they've all stuck together more or less. And I could see them all getting better as a result. And that's going to make Southeast Asia a very competitive and very good region, I would say. And finally, we got the New Beginning team, which it pulls a lot of different players from the 2012-2013 RNG sports teams. Got KY, XY, Yamate, Netling, and NJ. And yeah, that since there aren't really any guarantees, and since these players have, for the most part, played together with each other on other teams, whether that's a few years back or more recent, it's an interesting team that's going to be worth watching.
Yeah, I really do think that, like, I want to see these minors and majors kick off, and then I'll feel much more comfortable talking about this stuff in terms of like really having ideas. Obviously, there is the problem of, everything happening at once. Like, I've seen some of the maps or the calendars, and there's literally like 6 different qualifiers all starting at like the same time. Like, there was a team yesterday that kept up complexity till 3 a.m. Again, 3 a.m. seems to be their problem. And they just
we got King's Cup going on, which works as a qualifier more or less for Summit, right?
Yeah.
And then we also have the qualifiers for Star Ladder coming up. And then we got some other smaller stuff going on as well. So the season started and it started hard. So lots of activity, but again, even with games going on, we still don't know what everybody's doing. Digital Chaos is scheduled to compete in a day or two, I think, and still don't have a roster revealed. So
there have been
still developing.
There's definitely stuff happening, and like King's Cup is like, from what I understand, people are actually enjoying watching it, but there are definitely some problems.
Yeah,
with the event, and it's not necessarily them. It's teams, and several teams have been. It's a mess.
A team pulled out. I forget who it was, but they got replaced by the now Immortals, who ended up taking their record as on top of that. So yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to have Dota on available to watch again, for sure.
Yeah, for those of you who have time to watch Dota.
So yeah, It's nice to have it started, but definitely not in full swing yet.
Yeah,
but
and I look forward to seeing how it shakes out, because I would also not be surprised to see some things shift when
for sure.
we go, oh, okay, like we can't have 4 majors and minors at once, and so some of the bigger boys start to play nice and with each other.
But moving on, China. So very interesting in that the 4 top teams, being Newbie, LGD, LFY, and IG, all basically stayed intact.
It's interesting. I don't think it's surprising though, and I'm going to back this up. I don't think it's surprising because we saw for a long time massive roster shakeups that then led to inferior results. And what we've seen out of China for the last 2 years is that the top teams out of China at TI were the teams that had stuck around for at least a year together. So, Wings, eHome? No.
They were top 6 at TI6.
Yeah, eHome. They went from nothing to top 6.
Yeah, they were very good last.
And that was the thing, is that they were a team that like everybody was like, well, who are you? And that was the point, is that they were like, they've been around, they made it work, and they were, quote, nobodies. So like think about like teams that aren't nobodies, think about, Newbie or LGD, sticking together and pushing to learn through this next meta. Or maybe they're waiting until the next patch drops and then they go, oh, we need this kind of player and this kind of player and that kind of player.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. The TI7 meta actually kind of neutralized EG in particular. Like looking back on it, that EG whole
neutered themselves. It had nothing to do with the meta. If they had actually played their damn game, if Evil Geniuses had just played their game, they would have been fine. But no, they locked down, they double dosed, they bet hard on stuff that didn't work.
I agree to an extent, but
anyways, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little ranty here on something that I at this point don't need to. It's too far behind or too far gone.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, reel it back in. IG Vital or VG Gaming Storm once again. Our VG Gaming J Storm is the former VG Gaming J team, for the most part intact. Even like I remember picking them to win the qualifiers, which ended up being won by LGD, LFY, and IGV.
Yeah.
And I got that off the top of my head. You saw me not even touch my screen. So anyway, VG Gaming J Storm, good enough team that they were able to compete with pretty much all of them not that long ago. So I could see them really having a big resurgence themselves. We got a pretty much all new VG Gaming team, the primary VG Gaming team.
Yeah, but that roster needed a shakeup. So
yeah, for sure. But it's a talented one. We got a lot of experienced and high level players. I mean, 11 Phantom, Fenrir, Lanham, and Paparazzi. You've seen all of these on a bunch of different high level teams. So on the old VG Gaming team, previous eHome teams, etc., etc. They've all had success. Going to be interesting to see if they can have success again together here now.
That's the running question. Is always when you see a team get put together, it's like, well, they've clearly had success before, which is why they made their team this time.
Now can they gel?
Yeah.
And finally, new eHome. eHome really just completely collapsed in on itself after the Boston Major. Team NP kind of just destroyed them week in and week out, and that just made the team basically collapse on like black hole itself.
Yep, pretty much.
They got a new roster now, and it's pretty darn good. We got 2 former Wings Gaming players in Y and Faith Beyond. Old Chicken has been around the block a few times.
A few times. The man is the block at this point.
Yeah, basically. It's a good team, talent-wise. Going to be interesting to see how they go. And as I discussed in the article, you could arguably extend this list out further. Keen Gaming added aggressive, which is a pretty interesting move. I think that could, nudge them in the direction of, not being that kind of tier 2 secondary feeder team. You got FTD, or wait, aggressive went to FTD. Sorry. But FTD, Keen, etc. We got other teams in China that could end up making noise in the same way that the IGV and the newbie boss did last year.
Yep.
Finally, South America. Complete mess. Talk about South America for a second, because I need to blow my nose.
Okay, so South America, as you all can see by the Digital Chaos SA that was just on the screen before the screen went total. There we go. So digitalchaos.sa is Digital Chaos's venture into South America. Wow, so original. But the problem is that instead of going out and finding pub stars or anything like that, they pretty much jacked half of Infamous and half of SG Esports.
I'm back.
And welcome back. And then because of that, they then, Infamous and SG Esports had to go find teams. And I get it. Like, there's not a whole lot of depth in South America, especially because of players that got banned early on in their career, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, lots of match. For those who don't know, there's been lots of match fixing in South American Dota 2.
For a very long time. And part of that is because they had a significantly longer period of time where betting on Dota 2 matches was worth more than actually playing in them.
Oh, for sure. And, bless you. There's actually been some discussion about that happening in MMA. So,
and CS:GO and everywhere else.
Yeah, basically any sport where it's lots of viewers and low wages and a decent betting situation. So anyway, as you said, Digital Chaos South America pulling guys from both Infamous and SG Esports. Take it from there.
Yeah. So again, it's just they gutted, they castrated, I don't know how you want to call it, but the short version is that the South American situation in Dota was tenuous at best before Digital Chaos came in. And then once Digital Chaos came in, everything exploded. And it's as you see, there are 3 teams here compared to the 4, 5, or 6 that we've been talking about everywhere else. Because 1, we don't know jack shit about what's going on down there, and 2, I don't think they know what's going on down there right now either. Yeah. So I would not be surprised at all to see one of these tier 1.5, tier 2 teams in North America just say, screw it, we're moving to South America and doing that.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Digital Chaos ended up basically stealing half of Infamous and half of SG Esports and just smashing them together. Infamous, let me just scroll down to make sure I get it right. Yeah, Infamous ended up gutting Elite Wolves to rebuild its team. SG Esports ended up gutting Midas Club Elite to rebuild their roster. I don't know how much you follow South American Dota for the fans out there, but Infamous, SG, Midas Club Elite, Elite Wolves, those were basically the guys who competed at every South American tournament and had some level of success. And 2 of them are basically just gone now. So like I discussed in the article, as you can see on the screen there, it's kind of an inevitability. Like there's very little actual infrastructure to Dota 2 as a whole. There's even less infrastructure in South America. And we get to see a massive wave of cash come into South America now because you're guaranteed to have at least one South American team in every major or minor tournament.
Well, you should be guaranteed that. There are some questions about whether or not that's actually going to happen.
It's looking like it's going to happen. I know that I think Star Ladder, or maybe it was the Summit, or maybe it was PGL, because they're all happening at the same time. One of them didn't have a South American qualifier, and then the CEO of Midas Club Elite complained about it on Reddit. I think it was what happened. This is just off the top of my head, so don't take it 100%. But I think that that's what happened, and basically Valve probably made a phone call saying, hey, you got to have a South American qualifier.
Gaben was like, you do this or we end you.
Certainly wouldn't help. I mean, there's going to be a bidding war for, doing the production for TI7, and would not want to piss off Valve in that regard with that looming. So you got that going on. We're going to have, so again, we're going back. We're probably going to see one South American team in every major minor tournament. And the result is going to be a lot of cash going in. And it's just like a void. It's like a vacuum. And you're just going to see everybody scramble for it. And there's nobody really that's going to stop them because, Valve doesn't really... Valve is as laissez-faire with their games as possible. And for better or worse. Mostly for worse in this case. Like, we're not going to... There's no structure. All the teams are going to be poaching from each other. And we're going to see, again, like you mentioned, and like we previously teased, we could see why wouldn't you, if you are a North American team having a little bit of trouble, why wouldn't you just, move to Peru for 6 months?
Well, I mean, so
and then let's be honest, any of those North American teams from up here would probably annihilate any given one of those South American teams, right? Most of them.
I do think that a couple of those teams could also very easily fall flat on their faces if they went down to South America. But to just comment briefly on the idea of people moving to Peru and just making stuff happen. I have it from a source.
Ooh, we're getting an exclusive, folks.
It's sort of an exclusive. That rumor that was going around about Black moving to South America, and that team, and I don't remember the name, what the whole roster was, but I have from a source that was actually going to happen until some money fell through.
Interesting.
So there was legitimately people going to move down there.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this team here that we were discussing, the Wii Saxa Kezu stack, which interestingly has a 16-year-old Peruvian there.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we have a 16-year-old Peruvian that left South America because he's A, that good, and B, the money in South America isn't there outside of the major minor.
But I don't see you, if you're Wii or the rest of these guys, why you don't just go to South America, because that's a talented enough team that, again, they'd be able to stop.
That team can place a claim on Europe and North America, no problem. So of course they can claim South America too.
Yeah, they would be able to basically participate in any major or minor they goddamn well pleased, because who's gonna stop them? The only folks that could stop them are Valve, and apparently they're letting an all-Korean team compete in North America, so I don't see why they wouldn't let Tomato and company dominate South America. So,
especially because they have a South American on their roster.
Yeah, they
although
have,
I guess technically the Immortals do have a Canadian on their roster.
Do they? Oh, right.
Technically,
right. Yeah.
Well, sort of. He's a Korean citizen now, but he was born in Canada.
Okay, so they can bullshit. Yeah, he at the very least, that Wii Soxa stack is as South American as Immortals is American.
Yep.
So, by precedent, and you can go back to frickin' Moo being the only American on Digital Chaos, and then there are plenty of other examples as well. So yeah, I don't see why, outside of life stuff, they might not want to move. They might have a wife and kids. They might have a girlfriend that they don't want to leave, etc. I don't see why, from a competitive standpoint, you wouldn't just move to South America and just destroy that region and then get guaranteed spots in every goddamn tournament you want. And I'm sure we're going to see some of this. And like you mentioned, you got guys like Black. You got so many other veterans that are teamless right now. You know, what is I am drawing a blank right now. But you got Black, you've got MSS. He's currently teamless, right? Yeah. You can go down the list of the different veteran players that are currently teamless. I don't see why you wouldn't pull together for them, find a token Peruvian, and then just move down and destroy everything. Like, and again, who's going to stop them? So
if Digital Chaos SA can actually get their shit together, they could. Infamous, maybe. I have a hard time taking SG Esports seriously because they have a dude whose name is fucking A on their team.
They sure do.
But also, like I like 40R, I like Luposa, and I like Bardo. I don't know anything about Theolicor, or Theolicor, whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens business-wise. It's probably going to be pretty terrible to see what happens competitive-wise. But yeah, if you're a guy like Black and you speak every language in the world, I don't see why you don't just go to South America and take it over.
Although Spanish might be the one language he doesn't speak.
That'd be kind of funny if it was true. Spanish and if he knows like every language in the world, like he's fluent in Tagalog, he's fluent in like Hindi,
he's fluent. He's fluent in German and English, obviously. Yeah. Does he speak Chinese? I can't remember.
Hell, probably. So yeah, if you speak every language in the world and you're Black, but you only don't know 2 of them, it would be pretty funny if the 2 he doesn't know are Spanish or Portuguese. But yeah, massive gap. Anybody can fill it. We might end up seeing some of the South American teams, and again, these are the only 3 of them pretty much fill that gap, or we might end up seeing North American or European stacks move there and say, fucking stop us, bitches. And nobody will be able to.
I mean, as much as we say that nobody will be able to, I would love it if somebody did.
I wouldn't.
I'm saying I would love it if somebody could. I'm not saying that they would. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be like, because I would 100% would be just completely shocked.
There's me.
But at the same time, I would love to see it happen. Also, nice picture.
Thank you.
Mr. That's the one over here.
Yeah, it's the one I sent to the Washington Post.
You would.
No joke. Like it. Yeah, there it is.
I love it.
So yeah. Also, I've been fucking published on the Washington Post and CNN, so fucking yeah.
Yeah.
Suck it, everybody else. Anyway, anything else to say about what's going on in Dota 2 right now? About regions, at least.
About the regions, I think that as always, North America is going to have that, that cluster of people that think that they're pros, but are actually really closer to streamers, and I'm looking like PPD Stack and stuff, where they're just not really gonna make anything happen like they want to or think that they do. And like PPD, like going to a team, I spent so long like sort of half defending him as a CEO, not from the standpoint of like I thought that he was like being a perfect CEO, but like I don't know, like I wanted to give him a chance. And then the dude, like with this movement, pretty much stated, look, I didn't care, I was just kind of doing it and half-assing it. Bye. And it was like,
yeah, as soon as he started Wanted, I was kind of like,
oh yeah, the first time we both talked about it then and called it out.
Yeah, that was a bad look, like a really bad look. Because it,
yeah, man, and we talked about it. I mean, you guys can go find the VOD. It might be on the other channel, but
yeah. But we said back then that at the very best it's a bad look. Because it wasn't, the way it was kind of could be defended was that it was basically him, a bunch of other, old guys just kind of having fun in qualifiers, kind of like a veggie esports kind of thing.
Yep.
Even though we've complained about that too. If it was a kind of veggie esports type thing, then that'd be one thing. But no, it wanted was a relatively serious team, and that's not something you want from your freaking CEO of your company that pays your checks, or that writes your checks. And yeah, that it's a bad look. It's tough to defend, and especially now when esports is going through such massive shakeups on the business end, like that's basically indefensible. I mean, if you are not necessarily one of the guys from Dota 2, because they basically don't need teams in the conventional way, but if you're one of the guys that they picked up in fighting games, like that's bad. That's really bad. This is having a strong Evil Genius brand is important for your brand.
Yeah. Honestly, having EG be strong is important for everyone in Dota, especially in North America.
And not only that, but I would say that like Evil Genius it inhabits such a unique space that it's kind of important for all of North American esports.
Yeah.
Like, and Philip Aram is now the CEO, right?
He's the acting CEO. Not CEO. It's something, maybe a COO.
I didn't know if like he ended up getting promoted or whatever, but basically Phil Aram, the Dota 2 team's manager, is in charge of the company now. And hopefully everything shakes out well. Because it's an important organization. When you look at the guys that they've had on that team, they had Justin Wong and K-Brad, and those are some of the more prominent, and they still have Ricky Ortiz, and they still have K-Brad too. But they had a lot of the biggest fighting game players from North America. They had, back in the day, some of the best StarCraft players. They've had an important presence in North American esports across basically every game, and that's not something that should be taken lightly. And it's, by all accounts, that he took it pretty damn fucking lightly. And that's not good.
No, it's not. I mean, yeah, sure, he did. He got a couple sponsorships and everything else, but the dude clearly, he wants to spend time with his girlfriend and he wants to play Dota. And you can only do one of those things while you're being a CEO, and guess what? It's not playing Dota.
Yeah.
No, if you're a CEO, you have time to spend time with your girlfriend, and you can maybe stream a couple days a week. And if that game is Dota, fine. But you certainly can't compete, and you sure as hell can't be going around doing the shit that he was doing. So congrats, PPD. I mean, we all know that, but like, it was just, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was hard to watch.
It left a sour taste in my mouth because,
it further gave credence to it further raised questions about PPD's claim that he stepped away for the good of the team when he was fighting so hard to get back onto a roster that he was willing to risk his company.
Yeah, it's
like, if you're CEO, like, and you willingly stepped away to go be that, like, you're not good. It's not or your team manager even, like, no, that's not a good look.
Yeah, whole thing leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I don't want to bash the guy for an extended period of time, but
like, we easily could, though.
We could, just like I said, EG is an important organization, and
and I'm not saying that I was going to do a better job. Like, I'm not saying that at all, but like, on the outside looking in, at the very least, it looks
you can do a better job, is what you said?
No, I said I'm not saying that I can do a better job.
Oh, I could probably do a better job.
Maybe, but I'm not going to say.
Could.
I don't want to say yes, I definitely could.
I'll say it because I could definitely be a better CEO of EG. Hey, who's gonna say I'm wrong?
Your wife, maybe. I don't know. She knows you pretty well.
She'd agree with me. But anyway, so speaking of all this business end shit, one of the biggest stories since TI7 has been not just Dota 2 from a business perspective, but basically all of esports. So as pretty much anybody that even casually follows any level of esports knows, we have the Overwatch League. Basically, Blizzard setting up its own kind of NFL style conventional franchising system.
Yep.
Setting a $20 million price point and getting a lot of interest despite that price point.
Well,
which is
the 20 million? I thought it was a $10 million price, or because I thought that so far that 20 million was the highest price point, but it was not the price point.
You might be right. Either way, they're asking well into 8 figures.
Yes, I mean when you have the entire sports broadcasting branch of Comcast saying, "Yo, we want Philly. Here's 20 million."
Yeah, and I mean,
and that's from what I understand from the ESPN article. That's what went down. It was literally Comcast walked in, found an investor, and said, "I want that."
Yep. And not only that,
and Blizzard is like,
"Here you go,
gimme."
I mean, yeah, when you look at the list of investors, Comcast is such a huge get for them. I mean, the Kraft Group is another one that's in there, and Kraft is in Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. That's a good get.
Or Robert Kraft, as in Kraft macaroni and cheese. He owns all that cheese. This dude is loaded.
Does he?
Yes, he is. Yes, the Kraft Group owns Kraft.
I don't know that that's true. I think he's more of just a finance guy.
Let me check. They own Kraft Group, paper and packaging, sports entertainment, development, investment, sustainability. Huh. Maybe they don't anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that they ever actually did.
Which one they used to? Founded by James Kraft, who is a relative of. So next family over. So I was half right in the sense of that family.
In the financial realm, he's a heavyweight.
Yes.
Like he has a lot of money to throw around, and he's a good guy to get. But with Comcast, they have just as much money, and think about the sponsorships that opens up.
Yep. Like there's a team that literally doesn't need sponsorships. Yeah. Like they are the Comcast whatever. I mean, like if you look at the MLS and you've got, the Red Bull whatever in New York City, same concept. The Comcast whatever in Philly.
So Overwatch League is huge. They're getting a lot of interest from major financial players, from major tech players, from the New York Rangers. They're getting interest. They're getting interest from so many different levels in both sports and also potential in advertising and so much other stuff. And that has, in general, had a trickle-down effect across esports. And Dota 2 has benefited from that in having a lot of other organizations from other that haven't necessarily been in Dota 2 or haven't had a lasting presence in Dota 2 step in. And once again, the former MVP Phoenix, now former Team Phoenix, now Immortals. Immortals is a fairly prominent organization. They have a League of Legends team. They have a Counter-Strike team. Right?
Yes, they had. They're one of the Brazilian teams. They're the team that showed up, that may or may not have shown up hungover, and did show up. They have a huge issue. One of their players pretty much told somebody that he was going to kill them on Twitter, and shit got awkward fast. And Noah Winston on Twitter said that he would take care of it. Yeah. So I would not be surprised to see somebody get fired.
But they're a relatively prestigious organization. Fairly prestigious. They haven't really gotten into Dota 2, but now they have a Dota 2 team, and a pretty good one. We have G2 Esports, another fairly big team, interested in getting in on that Dota 2 action. We have Hellraisers, obviously already in. Cloud9, for better or worse, came back and once again had everything fall apart. So there's a lot of activity there from major esports teams.
I think that Cloud9 is not going to come back to Dota.
I think they'll probably come back in like a year.
Well, let me give my reasoning for why I don't think they're going to come back to Dota for at least 2 to 3 years. Because they just dropped how much money on becoming the London Overwatch League spot.
Oh, yeah, that's valid.
Plus, they just had to pay to buy in at LCS.
Yeah, that's
so
also true.
Unless there is a potential here that we see Cloud9 move to the London LCS for the London branch of EU LCS, and we see Cloud9. Now, is that going to happen? No, but that's also a conversation for a show that's not about Dota. Because that would be a very long conversation. So, but point being is that I don't think that Dota is going to see teams like Cloud9 or TSM or Optic or Splice. A lot of those orgs that are currently trying to get in on Overwatch League that are endemics, you're not going to see them because they are leveraging themselves so hard to get into Overwatch League, to get into the, to do LCS stuff, to whatever. They're not going to have the money to pick up good teams. Sure, they could pick up some cheap teams because that there are some tier 2 Dota players out there that would totally play under, some of these flags just for a jersey. But at the same time, those teams that they would be willing to do that are also say that they wouldn't do that. So,
I mean, I could absolutely see Cloud9 doing, or other organizations doing something like what happened with the Danish Bears in Cloud9.
Yeah.
/ X Imperial. Was that that's who they were, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we're seeing a lot more interest in Dota 2 as a whole, and that probably comes directly from Overwatch League. The teams that aren't willing to pay for a spot in the Overwatch League, they can get a Dota 2 team for pretty cheap. We're seeing some do that. And not only that, but we can also potentially, going forward, end up seeing some more investment and having a Dota 2 team, which is, despite all of its problems, still the highest, it has the most money getting thrown around at tournaments, esport.
Yep.
It's not bad to have a Dota 2 team on your resume if you're trying to sell yourself to huge investors.
Especially if, we see this major minor system work well. We could definitely see, if season 1 goes well, we could definitely see stuff get a little bit crazier in future years, with extra investment, especially as, OWL and LCS theoretically start paying out in years to come. But, there's a lot. Now we're talking a lot of hypotheticals and things are going to get really weird. Right now, as far as what I want to see out of Dota is I want to see some decently run majors and minors. I want to see some more initiative. And I want to see some new patches. Not so much because I'm tired of this patch, but because I want to see what comes next from IceFrog.
For me, in terms of what I want to see over the next Dota 2 season, I do really, and I mean really, want to see, not necessarily from Valve, but I do want to see some more defined structure to the professional scene. Whether that's something like the PEA in CSGO, obviously has had some ups and some very, very low downs. It's the PEA, right? Then
I don't even know, man, because that stuff has gotten so weird.
Let me look it up. Because basically the way you can look at it is Valve kind of Valve basically gives a stage or a platform for everybody to get into, and it's PEA. Valve basically sets the stage, and you're welcome to do what you want on it. And I want to see something, not necessarily like the PEA, but something in the same idea of actual teams coming together to provide some constants. That's what Dota 2 really needs is consistency. And we've never really had that. And I want to see whether it comes from the new major minor system or whether it comes from, more heavy hitters from the financial sector getting involved. I want to see that. I want to see more traditional structure come to Dota 2, because it's not good when you're a Cloud9 and Dota 2 keeps biting you on the ass. It's a bad and if you
I mean, and I really do think that in Cloud9's situation it's because they keep investing poorly.
I mean, I think so. There was an article run on the Rolling Stone about that. I forget who wrote it, and sorry for not citing you properly, but they specifically discussed what happened with Cloud9 each time, from the old Ritsu days, from the old EE days, and then up to the Danish Bears days, where they.
Do you remember how old that was? I think I read that.
It's fairly recent. It was right before. It was in like July. It was good. It was good. It was, but it basically, yeah, it's not good to have that kind of just like pointlessness, that kind of lack of certainty, that kind of huge risk of financial failure there. And I mean, it provides, you either way, as fans, we're still going to see a lot of good games. But from a long-term perspective, these things don't stick around without having money, just money flowing. You need to have the money flow. You don't need to have the money disappear.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a lot of things with that. And again, I think that the major minor system will provide more flow.
Yeah, it'll provide more flow, but we also need I'm not necessarily saying that the players should get paid less, but I think that organizations should be better accommodated by both the players and by Valve.
Yeah.
Because, you see the LCS and you see what is happening with the Overwatch League. There's big money at stake, and that money isn't going to just disappear. In Dota 2 and in Counter-Strike to a lesser degree, but still to pretty much the same degree, that money can just disappear.
Yeah.
And that's not good. If you are Cloud9 and you own a spot in the LCS, that is a financial asset you have. That is it's just short of like owning this cup right here. I own this cup. It has Canada on it. I got it from 7-Eleven. If you're Cloud9, you own a spot in the LCS. That is like in your metaphorical hand. And with Dota 2, you just don't have that. And you can have, not to bash Eternal Envy, but you can have Eternal Envy just blow your team up overnight for the third fucking time.
It's true, though.
I mean, he's a fun guy. He's a great personality. He's a good Dota 2 player, but goddamn, he keeps blowing up Cloud9.
It's true, though. It really is.
And
he never does it when he's playing against them either.
Well, he did it that one time when he was playing against them.
That's true, one time.
Because he tattled on, was it Ritsu?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, he tattled on Ritsu for leaking information to other teams about how scrims were going. And that blew up Cloud9. And then he blew it up his damn self before that. Then he blew it up his damn self after that. So yeah, he keeps blowing up Cloud9. And if you're Cloud9 and you actually are a major financial player, why the fuck would you want to go to Dota 2? And if you are, who's another major esport? If you're Misfits, why the fuck would you want to go to Dota 2? If you're Jonas Jerebko, if you're the owner of the New York Rangers, why would you be interested in Dota 2 when you see Cloud9 over there getting bitten in the ass so many times?
I think that Misfits is a brand that would do well in Dota 2.
Yeah, probably.
But like at the same time, they're putting in so much money into well, maybe European LCS. There is rumors that they may not be staying there, especially with their Overwatch League stuff. Like, yeah, why would you go to Dota 2?
Yeah.
And again, that's not a bad thing. Dota 2 is allowed to be the anomaly. Dota 2 is allowed to be that thing, that game, that scene that has the internal brands, that has the shit where it doesn't have to have the big names. It can have the Danish Bears. It can have the Two Hos. It can have the evil geniuses that are sort of big, but at the same time, are they really? Yet somehow they are. Like, evil geniuses are like the other side of the coin of TSM, like,
yeah,
in a lot of ways sort of.
They're a brand. They are a brand because they don't seem to have that pure financial like weight that a team like, with an actual financial backer they don't have that kind of situation, but they're such a strong brand that's been so established for so long in so many different games that they can stick around and still be a prestigious organization.
Yeah, they can afford to literally get by just with sponsor money.
Yeah, and
which is really hard to do.
So long story short, what I would like to see in this upcoming season is more structure start to come into place, whether that is a PEA, whether that is more organized leagues, but from like the PGLs, the Star Ladders, etc. That kind of stuff. I want to see that kind of structure start to take shape, because I don't think that it bodes well for Dota 2's longevity to be that kind of game, like you mentioned, where it's just kind of in jokes and in like.
Well, what I meant by that is well, yes, like in jokes. What I had meant was this idea of tier 2 / only Dota orgs. Smite has some of those, or had some of those. And that's not, and because Dota has such a ridiculously weird fan base, that's okay to have, because it can bring in the money from elsewhere. Smite's problem was that they were literally paying organizations like TSM and Dignitas and Cloud9 to buy out spots, and then they're hemorrhaging money. Yeah. That doesn't work.
No.
So that's the difference.
Yeah. But ultimately, I want to see Dota 2 in a position where it can actually grow.
Yeah.
I want to see Dota 2 grow. And I want to. It's not necessarily going to grow overnight. And, we saw, the prize pool for TI7 go up, but that's more so Valve finding better ways to get the money out of us rather than actually indicative of a growing user base and a growing viewer base. I want to see that user base and that viewer base and the sponsorship base and the organizational base and the infrastructure all start to get to where it should be, because Dota 2 could be really big, and I want it to start getting there.
Yep.
Anyway, you want to talk about anything else? Because we're in it for a bit now.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think that's everything too.
I'm sure we're missing some things, but like, I think that's everything.
So grossly early prediction. Who wins TI8?
Do you want a region, or do you want a team, or what?
Give me a team. I'm gonna hold your balls to the fire on that.
I think that I have two teams that, if you're going to ask me right now who wins, I can think of two. My first one that I can actively name is Liquid. Right now, I think that Liquid, if they can stay together and they can stay on top of their shit, Liquid can be the first, not just, repeats, but back-to-backs for TI. I think that they can do it. My second one is one of the Chinese teams that did not roster shake. I think that if a Chinese team, the Chinese team that stays the most stable, so either right now one that starts off here and going all the way through, or maybe there's a team that had a little bit of a shakeup now but doesn't break up for the rest of the time. So that's my cop-out answer is that it's going to be the Chinese team that is the most stable in the high half of the high bracket of China. That is my prediction. It's either them or it is Team Liquid.
So, which team is that?
Damn it. I gotta remember who's. Who do we got?
You want me to save you?
Well, I'm trying to decide. Do I think it's newbie? Do I think it's LFY?
It's going to be LFY or LGD.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
It's going to be one of them. They have the talent. They have the team. They have the consistency. They have the fact that they're Chinese in an even year. They have the fact that they haven't won a TI before. They have the on paper and the superstitious makings of
I think I'm interested in LFY. And like I said, I think that it's either going to be one of those two, whichever one, because again, if they start breaking up a lot, then we're back to square zero. But I do think that if they stay together or stay consistent, they're good. And I really do feel confident calling that now. Even if they have a rocky start.
So confident that I just wring it out of you.
I feel confident after I walked myself through it, yes. But like I said, no, because at the beginning, my statement was whichever Chinese team sticks together.
Yeah.
So, no, 100%. 100%. I think it's whatever Chinese team sticks together.
Yeah, like I said, I have a good feeling about either one of the LGD teams. Probably LFY because they're better on paper right now. But, LGD didn't chance their way into, what, a 4th place finish?
Something like that.
I just pull that up to get a definite. Pulling it up now. Can't have dead air. Yeah, 4th place. Good job. Why do I remember these things?
I don't know, because you're able to actually do that. Unlike me, who's been I have been dumping so much esports information out of my head so I can remember all the random ass product facts that I have to know, and it's killing me.
Well, the important thing is that people are getting boners because of you. You all right?
I'm just crying a little bit because it's true. I really like. That is the worst part about my job, is telling all of these old guys how great sex is going to be after they buy our product. That is legitimately the worst part of my job. And with that, we should end the show on that note.
I don't know, because it's not just old guys. Have you been keeping up with what's been happening in MMA recently?
A little bit, yeah.
John Jones and his dick pills.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, John Jones got suspended last year. Got pulled off of UFC 200 because he got like Mexican sex pills online, so he could bang somebody who's probably not his wife. Well, not wife, long-term, like 9-year girlfriend, baby mama.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous, but yeah,
Yeah, anyway, so we're done.
We done.
Like, comment, subscribe. Do all that other good stuff. We're going to be here.
Tell us what team you have in your region. And we just want region here, like for each of the regions that we talked about, at the beginning of the video, tell us what teams you have, finishing on top of those regions. Do you like the Two-Hos? Do you like the Evil Geniuses? Do you like the Stacks? Do you like the Immortals?
Yeah, that's good. Give the commenters actually something to discuss.
Yeah, it's almost like I know what I'm doing.
Why haven't I thought of that? Because like freaking all the other YouTubers do that. Like my wife is addicted to those like living in Japan YouTubers. And they're always like, so what?
I speak zero Japanese and I hate the culture, but I'm gonna move there anyways for the video.
Well, no, they're all weebs.
Well, yeah, those two.
They're all weebs that live there and know Japanese, and for the most part, teach Japanese children.
Yeah, how to speak English, because that's the easiest way to get over there.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do that. And occasionally rewarding.
Yeah,
but mostly not.
yeah. No, there's actually yeah, and then I'll stop with this tangent here. I read an article. I want to say it was a Gluxler article, but I could be wrong. A while back about the Street Fighter 3 scene in Japan and how there's a bunch of American guys who, like, when Street Fighter died over here, like when that thing was like, whether they found out about Japan, they literally moved to Japan to teach English just so they could keep playing Street Fighter.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
because yeah, that was an ugly stretch. My video game, but esports roots, quote unquote, would be in fighting games, and yeah, I remember that long stretch between Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4. Fighting games.
Yeah, because it was 3 back when everybody was still on Street Fighter 2. Was the other thing too?
Yeah, there was. And man, Street Fighter, like I remember King of Fighters almost dying too. It wouldn't even get published stateside because of Sony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on. Anyways,
yeah, Street Fighter 4 fixed that. Thanks, Capcom.
Yep.
Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Talk about what you think is going to happen in each region, who you think is the best, and give your like irresponsibly early predictions for who's going to win TI8. Like we did.
Let me actually, no, I'm not tweeting that.
What?
So my predictions.
Oh, okay. You know, I'll do it for you.
Of course you will.
I'll do it.
Right, so wrap the stream first. Wrap the show.
So, like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. I put it in the description. I remembered to, so you don't have to comment about that. Comment about, you know, that stuff I already said like twice, and he said that he gave me the idea. And everybody have a great, have a great time. Have a great week, probably. We've actually got tournaments happening now, so we're probably going to do an episode within less than a month. So yeah, see you then. We'll probably do actual previews for events once the qualifiers are done. They're going on right now. Check it out on Liquipedia because they got great people who work there. Bye.